Hello and welcome to Ladies Talking Business on PlusTvAfrica. I'm your host, Moremi, Akano, and with me is my co-host,
Annette Felix. On today's episode, we'll be looking into the creative and fashion industry in Nigeria. Our guest on the show is a creative consultant as well as the founder and business director of Zinkata, a fashion consultancy and retail store based in Lagos, Nigeria.
She is a strong force in the Nigerian creative and fashion industry with over 10 years experience in the industry as a fashion stylist, consultant, and editor. She was once the fashion editor of Wow magazine, Genevieve magazine, a contributing writer for Vogue, just to mention a few. So let's meet our guest, Ezinne Chinkata. Who is Ezinne outside being a fashion stylist and consultant?
Okay. Ezinne is actually a pretty simple lady that is proudly African and from a traditional home. I actually would say Ezinne is a brave young woman because I honestly didn't plan to start off working in fashion. Okay. I'll go to my background. I studied cell biology and genetics.
Oh, wow. That's a fact, right?
Yes. Traditional Igbo home. My dad wanted me to be a doctor, and it seemed like I would do the medicine because I was kind of like good in sciences and arts. Even though my mom was more very creative, she once owned a fashion outfit, and her family line, they're artists. So I was really exposed to the creative flair of things.
Okay.
And so it was now me meant to be a doctor, and I actually was going to study medicine, but I got cell biology and genetics in school. Mm-hmm. And I studied that. I didn't enjoy it, but I got by. And then I went on to do a master's in environmental management. So fashion was not in the radar. However, I want to believe I always sort of lived in fashion from my mom. And then I always loved the creative arts, exploring myself, exploring my style. Mm-hmm. And so while I was doing my MS in environmental management abroad, it was like, you know, being in the UK opened my eyes even further to fashion. And I loved it, but I never thought I would work in it till I came back to Nigeria to serve after working in England in a bank for a while. So my dad obviously assumed that I'll be getting a job because environmental management was getting really big then. And everyone was like, oh, waste management, oh, sustainability.
I mean, that's what's raining now. You
oil
make money
companies,
from it.
everything. So that seemed like I was smack in the right place. But I was in a phase where I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And then at that period, I was very expressive with my style. I had like a mohawk.
Wow.
Yes, I had like a mohawk. I had dark, moody eyes, and I was hanging out. And wherever I went, people would be like, "Are you a stylist? Are you a stylist?"
And they always noticed you.
I would say, well, they noticed my style. It sort of was different from what was around. Without me trying to be different, I was just expressing myself how I was. So they'll be like, "Are you a stylist?" And then I have to confess, I felt like, no, because I felt like I had my master's in environmental management and my cell biology and genetics course. You know, then we didn't feel like the creative arts was necessarily respected. So I would want to point out to them that I'm educated, I'm not a stylist. But I got that everywhere I went. And then I was also still trying to find myself. And like I was reading really hard. I just knew one thing. I knew that I wanted to be successful in life because I had really competitive friends, and some of them had already started working straight from school. But I wasn't sure at what. But I knew that I didn't want to do environmental management. And I knew that fashion came to me like so easily.
Wow.
But I didn't think I wanted to do it. So I was like caught. I had done a series of interviews. I got a job. I was working in my dad's company, but I still wasn't sure. And then I had like an aha moment one day, and I was like, Ezinne, maybe you should try out this styling thing. Maybe you should try out this fashion thing, just try it out. It will be fun. And I then went on, and I was lucky, maybe brave, like I said, because my dad wasn't going to hear it. My mom was low-key on my side.
I can imagine. I have to study in that course, and you say you want to go into fashion.
Transition.
You can't imagine. But, and then I was very lucky because my first gig was a massive gig. I started off trying to be a stylist.
Okay.
I had never done styling, like editorial styling, which was what I was going to do. So I didn't realize I had actually always been styling all my life. Because then, even in uni, I would advise my friends on what to wear. My mom at a stage had a salon, and then she also had a boutique. And then there was a time she gave me like her things to sell for her because I wanted to make extra money. And I sold out in a week.
Wow.
Not because I was popular or anything, but because I just sort of always knew, okay, red is for you, blue is for you, the peplum is for your figure. So people would actually buy what suited them. So I kind of like had a knack for that without knowing. So that was styling, and I had no idea. And then when I'm going on holiday, my friends will write a list and give me money, and I would always know where to get things, bargain, good quality,
So you've always
what
had it
fits
in
their
you.
style. They'll be like, how do you know this is me? I'm like, I know. How do you know this suits me? Anyway, so.
You are giving people customized service.
Yep, without knowing
And
that.
that you never knew you had. Really.
Yes, and without knowing that people got paid for that. So it was just like something I thought I could do. So now styling, back to getting a job. So so they were like, oh, isn't it styling? And then I was like, okay, cool. I made a few calls. I got excited about it. And then I got an interview with Next on Sunday. At first, I was meant to intern with someone that was already the stylist for the company. And while I was trying to intern with her, I found out that we're actually looking for a stylist. And then I said, why intern?
When I can
When I
actually
can style.
be the stylist.
So they
Great.
called me up and I went for the interview. I Googled what a stylist was, and then I became excited and I got lucky. The first job I did, the first shoot I styled was with established hands like Kelechi Amadiobi, the photographer.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. To me, that was my big break. And I had Banke Meshida Lawal that I already knew from school. She did the makeup. And I had a fantastic model. It was a sports-themed editorial, which is actually really challenging. But I was so passionate and I was so brave, I would say again. I never thought I would fail. I just was like, I must go for this and I must do it. And then I think it was also because I knew my dad thought I was crazy about that and I was so close to him. So I really wanted to make it work. So it was research, passion. How do I make it unique? How do I make this come out well? And from there,
it just went on. I mean, all of what you said, and I've just picked bravery. You spoke about bravery.
Yeah.
You've just been brave, and that really got you.
I'm lucky, to be honest.
Oh, really? So do you think people really go for maybe what's in vogue? Or they go for more their style? Or basically, what influences people's habits in terms of fashion?
Yeah. Okay, so now I would say that it has changed over the years, but what is consistent is the need and feel for people to buy into African brands. So now more than before, when I started like 10 years ago, people were buying more abroad, but now people hardly shop abroad. They're very excited to buy a Nigerian brand, one. Then there's also a greater interest in indigenous fabric. Yes, so they're like the Ankara now and the Adire. To be honest with you, before, black tie was just a black dress maybe, or, contemporary fashion, and a man in a suit. But now, it's almost like black tie can also be an agbada.
Yeah, traditional.
Yes,
I see that happen a
so
lot,
that's now also black tie. Proudly so, most times now. And then also consumer habits as well, the internet, social media. Oh my goodness, Nigerians consume a lot of that. And then the influencers also influence their habits, their buying habits. And then what I would also now say lastly that I've really noticed running in store is that the buyers can be cliquey.
How do you mean?
Cliquey, yes. So you have to, a certain clique of people would gravitate towards a certain brand.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? And then even like maybe the influencer that wears it, different influencers affect or attract different audiences. And then now consumers also have different expressions. So it's diverse and very rich. So a certain brand would attract a certain clique. And then if you can get into that market and target it and harness it, you'll be fine.
Okay.
So for Zinkata, I would say my market is more for people that like authentic fashion, people that don't like generic looking clothes, people that like
unique clothes.
Yeah, unique, but not like, it can also be classic, but it has to have been thought out, a clear thought, and they also love Nigerian brands, and then they like it well made, artisanal. They like the sustainable story, so they like a bit of a deeper.
Okay, you tell me more about Zinkata after the break, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we will go on a short break now, and we'll be back with more fashion talk with our guests right after the break.
You're welcome back, and it's Ladies Talking Business with Moremi, and we've been discussing, the fashion world with a fashion consultant by the name Ezinne Chinkata, who owns Zinkata brand. And thanks again for being here, Ezinne.
Thank you, Annette.
You started off with a background, in the sciences, and you decided to eventually give fashion a chance. And over the past 10 years now, you've built a robust profile, rich profile in fashion. What would you say has been, some of your experiences, in the fashion world?
It's been very exciting. It's been hard work. That's the thing. Most people think fashion is just very glamorous, but it's actually extremely hard work. It's been rewarding. I think one of the best parts of working in fashion is being exposed to different people. The creatives, the consumers, the buyers, women, and staff that I work with. It's been really, really the best part of my life, being able to stick here and try to grow in the fashion industry. It's been very exciting.
So you've just told us about what's exciting and, meeting people, dealing with different people. At the same time, what have your challenges been in running Zinkata and even being a fashion stylist? So what have your challenges been?
At the beginning, the challenge was trying to prove myself because I didn't really intern with anyone. So it was like, like I said, fashion is cliquey. So I had to consistently prove myself, and I had to convince them, even like styling, if you go to the big names for a shoot, they would ask, what have you done before? Who have you styled before? And it was me having to convince them that I'll return their things in good condition. So it was just trying to prove myself, try to be consistent. And then, there's no real, when I started, there was no real network. It was hard to even get a mentor because it was quite novel. It was something new. Yeah. So I had to research consistently myself. I had to make sure I was always, positive, wanting to do it, wanting to make it happen. So it was quite tough, but it was, the more you put in your best, the more it opens up for you. So it was really brilliant.
And what would you say was your first big break in this new industry at the time?
I would say I had a series of breaks. And to be honest, my very first shoot, I would say, was a big break because I gave it everything. The first shoot I got with the company I got, my first job. From there, 2 months later, immediately I did that shoot, I got 5 shoots down.
Oh, wow.
Yes, 5 months. I was rolling immediately. And then I was already exposed to celebrities. I was exposed, so I got in immediately. And so the next big break, I think, was I did a shoot for Next on Sunday, and I did it for Omotola, Mother's Day, and it sold out. It was very popular. I think she looked very beautiful, so people started taking notes. And then I'll tell you the next big break was Vogue Italia, writing for them. I also wrote, I would say truly that what really broke it for me was writing for Bella Niger online. Oh. Yes, I was writing, I had a column called the Zinkata Style Adventures. So that really helped me because people connected with my work, connected with the struggles of being an entrepreneur, connected with what I did on a day-to-day, and it was really amazing. So it was a series of little breaks.
Yeah. Great. So you live fashion, breathe fashion, you are fashion. What does fashion mean to you, like in simple terms?
Okay, so I would say that fashion is your essence, your true essence, because it actually goes beyond what you're wearing. It also covers even how you carry yourself, how you wear your hair. So I feel like fashion is the first thing that you say to someone without saying a word. So it might end up being the only interaction you have with a person. That's what they view. So it's very, very important. So it's important for you to decide who you are and who you want to show you are through what you wear. So it defines you. It's actually your true essence.
And talking about how fashion, and consumer habits being cliquey, and how brands are, exploring, the idea of using influencers to promote their brands. What fashion trends would you say are some of the biggest in Nigeria at the moment?
Okay, for some reason now, Nigerians love prints, but not just prints. They love matching prints, so sets. Like recently there was a craze for cords, so like a matching skirt and top. Sorry, matching skirt and top. That would be like a pleated skirt with a top. They'll wear that to work. It will have like a repetitive print. Right. So they love prints. Denim is making a comeback. You have
like all things denim.
Yes.
Overall denim.
Yes, denim is making a strong comeback. And then you have different designers now manipulating it in different ways. Adire is here and back to stay. So I've noticed that there's quite a spotlight on sustainable fashion. So people like Ashoke, Adire, and so many other things. But at the same time, I've also noticed that fashion now, people express themselves differently. So there's no one trend. It's almost like I'm alternative, they call them alter, I'm Afrocentric, I'm contemporary, whatever you are, you own it boldly. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted us to talk about talk more about the business side of fashion. So if I don't want to own a fashion line or a fashion label, how else can I make money in the fashion industry? So what else can I do?
It's very broad. You can own a store without owning a line. You can be a retailer. Okay. You can be a fashion photographer. Very lucrative. You'll never have enough photographers. You can be a model. You guys are so beautiful. Oh, yeah. Thank you. You can be a model. You can be a writer. You can be a journalist. Okay. It's very broad. You can own a factory, production. It's limitless. You can be a stylist.
And talking about writing, I mean, expressing yourself through fashion, styling people, and then writing about fashion, it seems a bit different. How were you able to, break in, to be able to not just express yourself through styling people, but to write about it through stories? And how did you get these opportunities writing for Vogue,
Genevieve magazine, Wow magazine?
How did you pull this all together?
You know the funny thing? When I started styling, I started working in fashion. I started as a stylist. And then I was told to go for an interview and go for a job, just an event in the next on Sunday office, and then to report about it. I had never written. And then I wrote, and they loved it. And then I just found that I could write. So I started writing, and I won an award. For writing, yes. I won an award, the Fab Awards for writing.
That's amazing.
So then I realized, okay, so maybe this writing thing should be taken seriously. So the lady, Franco Susani, the editor-in-chief of Vogue Italia, she came to Nigeria. She's late now. She's gone. Rest in peace. So she came, and I remember, because then I was very intense. I was always thinking ahead, because I really wanted to excel at this thing that my parents were not really supporting full on. So I think I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. So I was always like really thinking. So she came, and then people were just going up to her for selfies. So I sat far away, and I was just staring at her. And that day I was wearing like this black vintage dress. So I had noticed she sort of like looked at my dress. I was like, okay, so I have one leg in. Like, how like you give me like, yes. I know. So I was like, okay, but I don't want a selfie. I want more. I want more. So I was thinking. So I was just there, sitting and staring intently. And the next thing, she was alone. And then I walked up to her, and I said, I would love to write for you. And then she was like, okay. You have your phone? You have your phone? You have your phone? I was like, yeah, take this email. And then that was it. It was a paid gig. I was lucky. I sent a sample. So it was luck and fast thinking. Sometimes the best things in life come to you free. However, obviously, when you get it, you now have to. It was very hard, but there was a bit of luck as well.
Great, amazing, amazing, amazing. I want you to go on and on, but I have to go on a break. I hope you've enjoyed our talk so far today with our guest. We'll be back for more right after the break.
And we're back, still talking with Ezinne Chinkata of Zinkata brand. So let's talk about the name. It's quite catchy. I mean, no one will forget Zinkata. But what does it mean?
It's actually very simple. It's my first name, Ezinne, so the Zen from that, and then Chinkata, my surname, Zinkata.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. Very
So
straightforward.
tell us more about the brand. Like, what does it do? What does it cater for?
Okay, so I started Zinkata. It started off with me being a stylist in the fashion industry. I started off as a stylist, an editorial stylist. And then from there, I became a writer, a fashion editor for magazines. And then now, where Zinkata stands, so it's been a great journey of growth and challenges and success and drawbacks. So now I am a consultant, but the company has two branches, the retail store that stands by itself and houses multiple brands, but mostly with a focus on made in Nigeria.
Okay.
And then I am still a creative consultant, so I consult for brands, I style celebrities and individuals, and I still write. And then obviously I'm curating the retail store.
Hopefully I'll be able to get enough money to hire you to style me someday.
I think so, but you're doing good already.
Thank you.
So how lucrative would you say the fashion industry is in this part of the world?
I would say it's lucrative, actually very lucrative, but very hard work.
How so?
Because it almost feels like you have to work doubly hard to get. Because firstly, classic example, if I'm concentrating on retail, we don't have like high streets here. So like how you have high streets, like you're just passing and you look at a window. So it's almost like for you to even get a customer to buy, you have to scream harder than the average store abroad. So social media is helpful, but you have to
So much promotion.
So much promotion. So it's almost like,
brands.
you already have like a negative effect you're trying to overcome. So that's already then running a business here, power. The overheads are really high. Like there's no lights, for you
to
have to diesel. So that's already making your expenses higher and higher. Labor is limited, and it's for you to get skilled labor, you have to pay more. And then you have people that still don't understand because they'll say, oh, this is too expensive. But they don't understand that all that kind of like adds up. However, the industry has grown so amazingly from when I started, and I'm so happy.
So how can they improve? So you just said something about not having a high street, and I'm trying to picture that, having like a place, that street that is basically a high street where you can find a lot of high street shops. So
Or
would you
just
say
a strip with like stores.
stores.
Like how Adeni Ragunsa was, but even different. It's changing and it's growing, but there's a lot. The state of the fashion industry, I would say, has really improved. I'm not going to be the one bashing. Sometimes I find that boring. So we are a great community of creative people that are interested in pushing the African narrative proudly to the world. However, it would be great to see so much more. But I believe that it's a slow journey with Nigeria and our challenges. So I feel like all the challenges we have as a country also fits into the challenges we'll have as an industry. So do you understand? Yeah. So how would we improve? I'll say one thing though, maybe for the government to invest more in the creative industry, invest more in schools, invest more in loans. Nigerians are so creative. Oh my goodness. We can all agree on that. Yeah. It's like crazy. They're so creative and they're so good. So if they can be helped, supported, have the resources, we would be beyond on a global scale.
So talking about the Made in Nigeria branch that Zinkata represents, the outfits you retail, are they made here in Nigeria? The prints, are they sourced here from our local, manufacturers, made here in Nigeria? Or are they just designed here and sent abroad? Or how does the process work from sketching the idea to it being delivered to the customer?
Of course, we have some fabrics, like if it's adire, that are actually made in Nigeria, like woven, or ashoke, the woven looms, and then the adire is dyed here. So we have some of those that is actually the process from sketching to producing the fabric here to making them here with skilled tailors, and then obviously then they bring it to my store. I curate and choose what works for me. But say, for example, what I'm wearing today, it was made here. Yeah.
Including the fabric?
No, not the fabric, but some of it. So sometimes you have fusions. This is Akwete, which is woven in Eastern Nigeria by Emi Casbit. That's the name of the designer. He also once, Theresa May wore him when she came here. So now this neck piece I'm wearing was made here, and it's by Tiffany Amber.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this was actually like handcrafted. So it's a mix. It's actually a mix. Whereas I also have some brands that don't make their things here, and they actually make abroad. So
it's owned by a Nigerian.
Owned by a Nigerian, but not just Nigeria. I also have, I'm speaking, I want it to be like a global, but with a strong emphasis on Nigeria
and Africa.
Soon I'll be stocking some Ghanaian brands.
Okay.
So the sky is our limit.
Great.
But,
unfortunately, we have to go because of time. Okay. But just before we go, very quickly, what advice do you have for upcoming people, people want to go into the fashion industry, or people who are there and are trying to get a big break? What's that advice you would want to give to them today?
I would say, firstly, never give up. Okay. If you're sure, you have to be sure. Fashion is hard work. It's not just glam. It's actually it's really hard work. So if you're sure that's what you want, and it's not about the glam of it, then go on boldly, express yourself. If you're trying to get a job and you haven't gotten it yet, be ready to go down and intern. Be ready to open a blog and speak, research, find your voice. Be unafraid. Be authentic. Something that is authentically you. Believe in it, harness it, and give it to the world.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that,
Thank
Ezinne,
you,
and thanks for
Ezinne.
joining us. Annetta, would you agree that we got a lot of fashion, ginger today?
Indeed. I'm looking forward to model some of Zinkata's items.
And I really was able to afford her to style me someday.
No, I'm sure you can afford me.
Ooh, thanks, Ezinne.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you again.
So thanks for watching this episode of Ladies Talking Business with our fashion consultant, Ezinne Chinkata, on Plus TV Africa. We hope to see you next week for another episode. Goodbye.